The human was summoned to alien HR for punishment, only to find her undressing. Cassian adjusted the collar of his grease-stained jumpsuit, his boots echoing against the polished floors of the Galactic Spire's administrative wing. He knew the summons to human resources was coming, especially after he had rerouted the plasma conduits through the kitchen's refrigeration unit to stop a core meltdown. Most of the council thought he was insane, but his human intuition had seen a path through the logic gates that their machines had missed. The heavy doors to the chief administrator's office hissed open, revealing a room bathed in soft, amber light. Bastila stood by the viewport. Her tall, lithe frame was silhouetted against the swirling nebula outside. Her skin had the texture of fine silk. Her eyes held a depth that usually terrified subordinates. Cassian stopped a few paces from her desk. He kept his posture relaxed despite the adrenaline humming in his veins. The air in the room felt heavy and charged with a static tension that made the hair on his arms stand up. He waited for her to speak, refusing to fill the silence with the nervous apologies most humans offered in her presence. Bastila turned slowly. Her gaze swept over him with a clinical intensity that felt like a physical touch. She did not look like a woman about to deliver a termination notice. Her movements were fluid and deliberate. She walked toward him with a grace that suggested a predator stalking interesting prey. The silence stretched between them, thick and expectant. Cassian noted the way the light caught the iridescent markings on her collarbone. He realized that the punishment he had been expecting might take a very different form than he had imagined during his long walk here. "You have a habit of ignoring the safety limiters on our most sensitive equipment," Bastila said. Her voice was a low vibration that seemed to resonate in the small of his back. She stopped inches away from him. The heat radiating from his body seemed to draw her in. "I did what was necessary to keep the spire from becoming a debris field," Cassian said. He did not flinch as she reached out to brush a smudge of soot from his jaw. Her fingers were cool against his skin, creating a sharp contrast to the fire burning under his surface. "The council views your actions as a violation of every known engineering law," Bastila said. She let her hand linger on his face. Her thumb traced the line of his lower lip. "Laws are just suggestions when the alternative is total annihilation," Cassian said. He felt his pulse quicken. He watched her eyes darken in response to his defiance. She was not looking for a defense. She was looking for the spark that made humans so unpredictable. The Velari were a species of logic and order, yet they were drawn to the chaos that humans carried in their marrow. "Your species has a way of making the most dangerous choices look like destiny," Bastila said. She stepped even closer. Her chest was almost touching his. He could smell the faint, floral scent of her skin, something like jasmine blooming in the dark. It was a scent that had nothing to do with the metallic tang of the station. It was organic and inviting. "I assume this is the part where you tell me my career is over," Cassian said. He looked down at her. He saw the way her pupils dilated. "On the contrary, the council has no idea you are here," Bastila said. She turned her back to him and walked toward the console. She tapped a command that locked the doors and frosted the viewports. The amber light shifted to a deep, sultry crimson. "I summoned you because I wanted to witness the heat I've heard so much about," Bastila said. She reached for the fastening of her high-collared gown. Her movements were steady, yet there was a slight tremor in her hands that betrayed her excitement. "This isn't an official reprimand," Cassian asked. He felt a grin tugging at the corners of his mouth. He crossed his arms over his chest. He watched her. "It is a private investigation into human resilience," Bastila said. The fabric of her dress began to slide down her shoulders. She revealed the smooth, pale expanse of her back. The markings on her skin glowed brighter now. They responded to the rising temperature of her own body. "You humans are so loud in your passions," Bastila said, the dress pooled around her feet. She stood before him in nothing but the faint light of the room. Her body was a masterpiece of alien biology. She had curves that were both familiar and exotic. "I find that logic only takes a person so far," Cassian said. He moved toward her. He felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The air was thick with the scent of anticipation. "Then show me the rest," Bastila said. She reached out. Her hands found the zipper of his jumpsuit. She pulled it down slowly. She exposed the hard lines of his chest. "I want to see what lies beneath the chaos," Bastila said. Her fingers were no longer cool. They had absorbed the warmth of the room. They had absorbed the heat of his presence. She mapped the scars on his torso. Each one was a testament to a human life lived on the edge of the impossible. "You are much more solid than I expected," Bastila said. She pressed her palms against his pectorals. She felt the heavy thud of his heart. It was a rhythm that was fast and aggressive. "We're built for high-gravity worlds and high-stakes gambles," Cassian said. He reached down and gripped her waist. He pulled her flush against him. The contact was electric. It sent a shock through his system that made his breath catch. "I have studied your biology in texts, but the texts do not mention the electricity," Bastila said. She tilted her head back. She offered him the long line of her throat. "Some things can't be put into a report," Cassian said. He lowered his head. He pressed his lips to the pulse point in her neck. He felt her moan against his ear. It was a sound of pure discovery. "The council would call this madness," Bastila said. She wrapped her arms around his neck. She pulled him closer. She wanted to erase every millimeter of space between them. "Let them have their logic," Cassian said. He lifted her. He carried her toward the low couch that lined the far wall. "I'd rather have this," Cassian said. He laid her down. He followed her. He felt the softness of the cushions and the firmness of her body beneath him. The world outside the office ceased to exist. There was only the sound of their breathing and the friction of skin on skin. The intensity of their connection was unlike anything Cassian had ever experienced with his own kind. There was a desperate curiosity in Bastila. She explored him with a hunger that was almost scholarly, yet fueled by a primal need. She traced the muscles of his arms. She marveled at the way they flexed under her touch. "Your strength is so localized," Bastila said. She gasped as he moved his hands down her thighs. "It's concentrated," Cassian said. He felt the silkiness of her skin. He felt the way her legs tangled with his. He was a creature of fire and grit. She was a being of light and shadow. "I feel like I am being consumed," Bastila said. She arched her back. She pressed herself into his touch. "That's just the human touch," Cassian said. He whispered the words against her skin. "We don't do anything halfway," Cassian said. He found the sensitive spot behind her ear. He heard her breath hitch again. Her irises were shifting colors now. They reflected the intensity of her arousal. "I have never felt a temperature this high in a living being," Bastila said. She gripped his shoulders. Her nails dug into his skin. "It's the engine," Cassian said. He smiled. He felt the raw power of the moment. "It's always running hot," Cassian said. He moved his lips back to hers. He claimed her mouth in a kiss that was deep and demanding. She met his passion with an intensity that redefined his understanding of her species. They were not cold. They were merely waiting for a catalyst to ignite them. He was that catalyst. He was the human spark in her orderly world. Just as the tension reached a breaking point, the station groaned. A deep, low-frequency vibration rattled the floor. The lights flickered from crimson back to a harsh, emergency white. A klaxon began to wail in the corridor outside. "That wasn't supposed to happen," Bastila said. She sat up. Her eyes were wide with sudden alarm. "The secondary containment field is failing," Cassian said. He was already reaching for his jumpsuit. The transition from lover to engineer was instantaneous. It was a shift that showcased the human ability to compartmentalize. "How do you know that?" Bastila asked. She grabbed her dress. She pulled it over her head with frantic speed. "I felt the frequency change," Cassian said. He zipped up his suit. He did not need a scanner. He did not need a computer. "The harmonics are off," Cassian said. He strode to her console. He began bypass procedures before the internal sensors even registered the fault. "The system says everything is within normal parameters," Bastila said. She looked at the screen. She saw only green lines. "The system is lying to you," Cassian said. He tapped a series of commands. He bypassed the logic gates that were hiding the true status of the reactor. "The Velari computers are too polite to tell you when they're dying," Cassian said. He looked at her. He saw the fear in her eyes. "If that field drops, the entire administrative wing will be vented into the void," Bastila said. She stood beside him. She watched his hands blur over the interface. "Not if I can help it," Cassian said. He gritted his teeth. He felt the station shudder again. The hull plates were screaming under the pressure. "The automated repair bots can't reach the junction," Bastila shouted. The noise of the failing systems was growing louder. "They're too slow," Cassian said. He grabbed a heavy wrench from the emergency locker. "I'm going into the crawl space," Cassian said. He looked at the narrow opening in the wall. It was a space designed for cables, not people. "You'll be exposed to raw plasma," Bastila said. She tried to grab his arm. I have a thick skin, Cassian said. He gave her a quick, fierce grin. Keep the pressure stabilized from here, Cassian said. He disappeared into the dark, cramped tunnel. The heat inside was staggering. It would have killed a Velari in seconds. Cassian pushed forward. His lungs burned. His skin felt like it was bubbling. He saw the failing relay. It was glowing a sickly violet. He didn't have time for a calculated fix. He used the wrench to smash the faulty coupler. He forced the manual override into place with sheer physical force. The metal groaned. The sparks showered over him. He felt the surge of energy as the field stabilized. The vibrations stopped. The klaxon faded to a dull hum. He slumped against the conduit. He was gasping for air. He was covered in soot and sweat. He had defied the odds again. He had used a hammer where a scalpel had failed. It was the human way. He crawled back toward the opening. He saw Bastila waiting for him. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. She reached in to help pull him out. She dragged him onto the floor of the office. She held him as if he were the most precious thing in the galaxy. You are insane, Bastila said. She wept openly. She did not care about her status or her dignity. I'm an engineer, Cassian said. He coughed. He tried to sit up. There's a difference, Cassian asked. He smiled. He felt the sting of the burns on his shoulders. No one else would have survived that, Bastila said. She ran her hands over his face. She checked for injuries with a frantic energy. Humans are hard to kill, Cassian said. He leaned his head back against her knees. We're too stubborn to die when there's work to be done, Cassian said. He looked up at her. He saw the way she was looking at him now. It wasn't just desire anymore. It was a profound respect. It was the realization that humanity brought something to the stars that the other species lacked. They brought a willingness to break things to save them. They brought a heat that could melt the coldest logic. The council will want a full report on how you fixed the relay, Bastila said. She wiped her eyes. She started to regain her composure. Tell them I used a magic wand, Cassian said. He laughed. It was a ragged, tired sound. They wouldn't understand the truth anyway, Cassian said. He felt the station's life support systems humming back to life. The danger had passed. The silence returned to the room. I think I understand the truth now, Bastila said. She helped him stand. She supported his weight with her own body. And what is that? Cassian asked. He looked at the doors. He knew he should leave before anyone found them. That humanity is the heartbeat of this station, Bastila said. She pressed a soft kiss to his scorched cheek. You are the pulse that keeps the machines from forgetting why they exist, Bastila said. She walked him toward the door. She paused before opening it. Will I see you again, specialist? Bastila asked. Her voice was soft. It was full of a new kind of longing. I'm sure I'll break something else soon, Cassian said. He winked at her. I seem to be very good at causing trouble, Cassian said. He stepped out into the corridor. The cold air of the station hit his heated skin. He felt more alive than he ever had before. I will be waiting for the next catastrophe, Bastila said. She watched him walk away. Her eyes remained on him until the doors hissed shut. Cassian headed toward the medical bay. He was tired and hurting. He knew that the story of his punishment would become a legend among his crew. He had saved the Spire. He had conquered the most untouchable woman in the sector. He had done it all by being exactly what he was. He was a human. He was a force of nature. He was the chaos that the galaxy didn't know it needed until he arrived. The aftermath of the incident brought a shift in the station's hierarchy. While the council officially recorded the event as a mechanical anomaly, the rumors of Cassian's bravery spread like wildfire through the lower decks. Bastila became a staunch advocate for human integration in high-level security and engineering roles. She argued that their intuition was a necessary failsafe for their rigid systems. Privately, her office remained a sanctuary for the two of them. It was a place where logic was checked at the door. Their partnership became a symbol of a new era. It was an era where the galaxy began to appreciate the raw, unrefined brilliance of the human spirit. Every time a system failed or a crisis loomed, the Velari looked to the humans. They looked for the people who weren't afraid to get their hands dirty. They looked for the people who burned with a fire that could restart a dying sun. Cassian and Bastila stood at the center of this revolution. They were a union of two worlds. They were a testament to the fact that when order meets chaos, the result isn't destruction. The result is a new kind of excellence. It was a beauty that neither could have achieved alone. As the Galactic Spire sailed through the deep black of space, its inhabitants felt a little safer. They knew that there was a human on board. They knew that as long as Cassian was there, the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved. The heat of his passion and the strength of his hands had redefined their future. It was a future where humanity didn't just survive. They led the way with a grin and a heavy wrench.